Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So tonight we're going to be taking a look at Sir Cliff Richard with some performances over probably the last 10 years, something like that, because I've been asked to take a look at this to see what's happening with the live performances. Now, Sir Cliff has one of those voices that I know very well because he was part of my childhood. My parents were fans of his and his music was always on the radio, so I know his voice very well. We have featured him on the channel in a previous analysis video as well, and he was basically the UK's version of Elvis. But even when I say that, obviously everyone here knows Elvis, but he was very much inspired by Elvis and he was huge here in the UK. So he's one of those artists that has always sung live. You can probably see where this is going. I've been asked to look into this, and as with my videos on the channel, everyone is objective, whether I know the voice very well or not, whether I'm a fan of the person or not. I'm still just going to show exactly what's going on screen. So links to the original videos in the description below, as always, if you guys want to cross-reference anything. But to begin with, we're just going to listen to a performance from 2017 and 3 separate performances from 2021. And we're just going to listen before getting all the confusing stuff up on screen, and let's see what it sounds like.
Used to think the life was sweet. Used to think we were so complete. Can't believe you throw it away.
And because the majority of these videos are crowd shot footage, you're going to hear the members of the crowd talking and maybe singing along and all that kind of stuff. But just listening to it so far, these are 4 separate performances happening obviously at different times. Let's just let it play on, and we're listening to the isolated vocals.
Used to feel we had it made. Used to feel we could sail away. Can you imagine how I feel today?
So, I think people listening to this might think that it sounds like it could be the same vocal just being played 4 times over, but we will now jump into the details. These are going to be played back at the same time, and it's not the same performance. You can see here Sir Cliff is wearing a black jacket and red trousers, then over here he's wearing a blue jacket. So totally separate performances.
We don't talk anymore. When does the sleep?
And I'm just going to jump in here because long-time viewers of the channel will start to notice this kind of thing. You can see how, if I move it out of the way again, we've got these lines that are overlapping each other. And if I kind of skip forward a little bit as well, you can see how this is going to be overlapping as well. And again, I mean, this is the classic here because we've got lines completing lines. So the actual data that we've got from one of the performances is this. And then when I bring in the data from the other performance, look at the way that the lines now, blend into each other. So if I now go all the way back like this, you can see how we've got these gaps here and even a gap here that when we bring in the other audio, they actually fill in the gaps kind of perfectly to the 100th of a second. So we know, therefore, that because lines are completing lines and it's perfectly overlapping, it's the same audio file. And again, this is crowd shot footage. So from these performances, nothing should overlap at all because of people talking in the crowd, all that kind of stuff. But when you hear the voice clearly, it's the same audio file being played back, which means that it's not a live vocal. This isn't one of those cases where it's recorded live and then edited afterwards with pitch correction. This is the live audio from the show. So something that I do find interesting is that although this sounds like it might even be auto-tune, that they've done that on the pre-recorded vocal, I think it's more just really heavy pitch correction because listen to this phrase.
It's so funny.
You can hear that Cliff's voice is a little bit flat of the B3. With auto-tune, that would have been snapped to the B3 without question. So when we then have a listen to 2017, it's difficult to make out, but the pitch monitoring software did pick up his voice a little bit. Let's go to 2021, the other performance.
It's so funny.
And you can see here that that note is flat of the B3. So let me now actually bring on the first performance and the second performance and the 2017 performance, and you'll see how they're all in the same place. So this flat note under the B3 is the same in all three performances. Obviously, it's the same vocal in all three performances. We've already found that with the lines overlapping as they overlap here. But I just find it interesting that that note has been left there as being flat, because if you were, I don't know, trying to create a live vocal that doesn't have any possible tuning errors in there, then you would take that out. But I'm thinking maybe it's been left in there to try and make it sound a little bit more live, but it's been so heavily edited it just doesn't sound live from the get-go, unfortunately, because it is just straight on these lines. And something that I will say is that Sir Cliff has been performing live for a hell of a long time, and even in 2013 he was still performing fully live and singing fully live. So we've got that on the left hand side, and I'm going to let this play through with the other live performances. And you can hear how actually the 2013 performance is more in the left channel, and the melody goes na 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 like that, whereas on the pre-recorded vocal he goes na 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 na, so he goes a lot higher on the pre-recorded one. So even in 2013 he was still opting for a lower melody, but I think you can hear there's a difference. Yeah, even those lines were different, they ended at different times.
It's so funny how we got so.
Oh, there you go. And he ended the line earlier in 2013, whereas obviously all the other performances are going to end at exactly the same time because it's the same audio file being played back. It still shows you how accurate Cliff was live. And when I say was live, it's because obviously I think now it's been replaced with an audio file. Whether it's a backing track or not, I don't know. I assume it's going to be a similar thing to a lot of other bands and artists at the moment who are playing to a click track, and the drummer's playing to a click to keep it all in time, and the vocals pre-recorded, and they might even have live backing vocalists, which I've also seen. So the backing vocalists are fully live and just the lead vocalists' vocals are on that backing track. But the other thing is that with this live performance that we're looking at, one of them is from the Royal Albert Hall in 2021, and it's the same audio file being played back in the other performances that are post 2013. And I think it might have been the case that 2013 to 2015, then up to 2017 is where we now hear this audio file. So it might have been transitioned to over that period, and the event that I'm talking about in 2021 was for Sir Cliff's 80th birthday. So it gives you an idea that he's been doing it a very long time, singing live for a hell of a long time. But that particular performance from the Royal Albert Hall was live streamed, I believe, to cinemas here in the UK. And they're relying on a pre-recorded vocal to not go wrong. So yeah, for me, that is massively risky. Doing a live stream across the whole country to cinemas while you are performing at the Royal Albert Hall to a vocal that's already been recorded and you're trying to lip sync to it. And this is another thing. that when I say lip sync, I know that's an American term. We use miming here in the UK. But anyway, lip syncing, miming, same thing. Yeah, hugely risky thing to be doing in my opinion, just in case something goes wrong. But it seems to have gone well and maybe nobody noticed it. But because Sir Cliff is a seasoned performer, he's not a seasoned mimer or lip syncer, which means that some bits he's not really sure about, and you can tell that watching him perform, that there are telltale signs that he's not sure whether he does an ad-lib in a particular section, so he's holding the microphone there just in case, but he's obviously got in-ear monitors so he can hear his own voice as to when he should be then pretending to sing. So I'm just going to point out one or two parts where, because Cliff isn't a natural at doing this, he's used to performing live and singing fully live, so I think in this instrumental section he would normally put in a vocal ad-lib, but that ad-lib isn't on the pre-recorded vocal. So let's just have a look at this. So you can see him do the movement to his mouth and put his arm up as if he's doing an ad-lib, but it isn't on that pre-recorded vocal, so obviously we don't hear anything. Doing it to a pre-recorded vocal obviously isn't something that comes naturally. In this case, you can see how his vocal continues, and just to let you see, this isn't out of sync. So, just in case you're not really spotting it, I'll play it back in slow motion. So we can still hear Sir Cliff's voice when his microphone is actually behind his back. So, because he's putting on the showmanship side of it, which he's been used to doing his whole life, now trying to lip sync or mime is a totally different kettle of fish. When you're not used to doing it, I mean, there are some artists that are great at doing it because they're used to doing it and it's been a regular thing in their career. But when you've had somebody like Sir Cliff who's been just doing it for so many years, when you then, I mean, it's so difficult, I'm sure, to get out of that, to just assume that when you move the microphone then the vocal's going to stop, because that's what always happens. But yeah, not when it's unfortunately pre-recorded. So I think the more serious point of this video is that with Sir Cliff announcing that he's going to be touring in 2025, if people are buying tickets knowing that it's going to be pre-recorded, it's not a live vocal, and they just accept that and are there just to kind of enjoy the music and to see Cliff, perform on stage, or whether they expect a live vocal, and if they don't get one, whether they'll be disappointed with that, and whether it could potentially damage Sir Cliff's reputation for performing live, because he's been performing genuinely live for so many years, but now, on the evidence that we've got tonight, since 2017 is when this transition happened to this particular audio file, this pre-recorded vocal. So it's always difficult because I know that it's subjective and some people don't care if somebody's lip syncing or miming live, but then other people do care. And some people see it as potentially a negative thing. And if it's not announced that, by the way, there's going to be lip syncing or miming in this performance, they see that as, well, not being told exactly what they're paying for. The media here were absolutely horrendous to him. And I mentioned this in my first video, that they raided his house and called the police. The police raided his house and the media already had a helicopter there when his house was getting raided. So the newspapers already knew it was going to happen. They're waiting to film it and then put it live on the news. So yeah, there was some conspiracy going on to try and catch Cliff for doing things that he hadn't done, and looking at his computers and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it was absolutely horrendous. So he's certainly been through it, and it's a shame that I'm pointing this out, because I think he probably could still sing live and would still be able to hit the notes because he's so accurate vocally. But obviously I've got to be objective, and even if it's artists, singers that I'm a fan of and have been a fan of my whole life, I've still got to address the requests as they come in to be totally objective. Otherwise there's no point in doing it, and you know, I can't be trusted if I'm not pointing out exactly what's going on with exactly the artist that is requested for the particular analysis video. And tonight it is this. So anyway, thank you guys for this particular request, and keep those suggestions and requests coming in the comment section below. As always, let me know what you guys think, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!